Hello and welcome to this brief tutorial on how to play Gin Rummy. My name is Bob Murley. Over the next few minutes I'll be discussing the rules of Gin Rummy as well as how to play the game on the ShuffleShack site. So let's get right to it. Gin Rummy is a game played between two players using a standard 52 card deck of cards. In our version of the game, aces are low. A Gin Rummy hand consists of 10 cards, such as the one shown here. The object of the game is to score more points than your opponent by forming meld and eliminating deadwood. There are two types of meld in Gin Rummy, sets and runs. A set is 3 or 4 cards of the same rank, such as we have here with the 3 sevens. That forms a meld group. A run is 3 or more consecutive cards in the same suit. And we have an example of that also. The Jack, Queen, King of Spades forms a run. Cards that are not part of any meld are called deadwood. In this hand, the 2 aces, the deuce of hearts, and the 5 of hearts are deadwood. Each card has a point value. Aces are 1 point, face cards are 10 points, and all other cards have points equivalent to their numerical values. Deadwood count is the sum of the values of the deadwood cards. This hand has a deadwood count of 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, or 9 points. Intersecting meld are not permitted. Here we have a run of 7, 8, 9 of diamonds and a set of 3 nines. However, since the 9 of diamonds is common to both meld, only one of them could be used in the hand. A hand ends when one person knocks. A player can knock with 10 or fewer points of deadwood in their hand and must knock if he or she has 0 points of deadwood. Knocking with 0 points of deadwood is called going gin, or having a gin hand, and knocking with 1 to 10 points of deadwood is known as going down. When a person knocks, both hands are placed face up on the table, grouped by meld and deadwood. In this example, player A knocks with 1 point of deadwood, and player B has 11 points of deadwood. There are 3 ways to score points in gin. The first is with deadwood count. If a player knocks with fewer points of deadwood than his opponent, then that player receives the difference in deadwood counts between the 2 hands. Here, player A would get 10 points. The second way to score points is by going gin, as player A did in this example. When you go gin, you get a 25-point gin bonus plus the entire deadwood count of your opponent. Player A would get 34 points in this example. In this case, player A has gone down with 8 points and player B has 24 points. Whenever a player goes down but does not go gin, his opponent has an opportunity to lay off any of his deadwood cards that fit into the original player's hand. In this case, there are 2 such cards. Player B's 8 and 9 of hearts can be played on player A's heart run, and that's done just by dragging them from one hand to the other. The deadwood count of player B is reduced by the deadwood count of the cards that are laid off, which means that player B then has only 7 points of deadwood. Which brings me to the third way you can score points. If a player goes down and his opponent ends up with the same number or fewer points of deadwood than he does after any layoffs occur, then the opponent receives an undercut bonus of 25 points, plus the difference between the deadwood counts of the 2 hands. In this case, player B would receive 26 points. So let's go to the ShuffleShack homepage. This is where you choose the game you'd like to play. We'll click on the Gin Rummy graphic, which takes us into the Gin Rummy lobby. This is where you can join someone else if they have created a table, or create one yourself. Notice on the left, your login name is displayed, along with any others who happen to be in the lobby at the time. If you create your own, you can set a couple of the game parameters here in the Preferences panel. If you choose 1 live player, you'll be playing against the computer. If you choose 2, you'll be playing against a live opponent once someone chooses to join your table. By the way, in case you're wondering, the algorithm used by our computer player has no knowledge of your hand that an actual opponent would not have. You can also specify the length of the game, either a number of rounds or a score that one player must reach or exceed before the game ends. You can also choose whether you want your cards sorted automatically when they are dealt and how they are to be sorted. Now I'll pick one player, close the Preferences pane, and create a table. ShuffleShack assigns us an opponent, a very formidable one in this case, by the name of Alexander, takes us to the game, deals the cards, and sorts them as we requested. The first dealer is chosen randomly by ShuffleShack and alternates with each deal thereafter. The dealer deals 11 cards to his opponent and 10 cards to himself. The opponent receives 11, so he or she can be the first to discard, thus starting the discard pile. Then the dealer takes a turn, and the turns alternate from then on. On each turn, a player chooses one card, either the discard just made by his opponent, or one from the pile of down cards called the stockpile. If you want to knock, click the knock button after you draw and before you discard. So I'm going to discard this king by clicking on it, and Alexander wastes no time in drawing a card from the stockpile and discarding a queen. If you don't like the way ShuffleShack sorts the cards, you can move them around anytime you want just by dragging. Let's say I'd like to have this jack of clubs next to the queen. I can just drag it over like this. All right, I don't want this queen, so I'll click on the stockpile, and this gives us a run, 8, 9, 10 of spades. This is good. I'm going to discard this 4 of diamonds. I don't think the 10 of diamonds will do us much good, but the 6 did give us a set, 3 sixes. Incidentally, if you'd ever like to know the best possible meld that your hand can produce, you can click on the Show Meld button. The meld is shown in meld groups down below and deadwood up above. Click that button again to return the display back. So this time I'm going to get rid of this queen. I'm afraid that 9 doesn't do us any good, but we just extended our run with the 7 of spades. Now I'm going to discard the jack. And now we see that our opponent has gone down with 4 points of deadwood, and we have 13 points of deadwood. This is the point where we can lay off cards onto our opponent's hand, if any of them fit, and it turns out that one does. This deuce of spades can be dragged over to the deuces there, and notice that our deadwood count reduces from 13 to 11. We can't lay off anything else, so we click on Tally Score. ShuffleShack calculates the difference in our deadwood counts and gives that to our opponent. If there were either a gin bonus or an undercut bonus, that would be added in at this time. And that is the end of that hand. And that's about all there is to it. So I hope you enjoy the game, and good luck.